Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, then just welcome. Please remember to hit like on this video, comment below if you'd like to, and also don't forget to subscribe and put the notifications on so that you'll know every time I upload a new video. So I just want to quickly say, I do kind of have like some sort of a chest cold bronchitis situation happening. I've been struggling the whole week with like coughing on my chest and my voice. So I have got a glass of ice cold water here. I'm going to try and see if we can make it through this video without my voice going all funny, but I apologize if I sound a bit croaky at some time. Anyway, so every year the United Nations holds the 16 Days of No Violence Against Women and Children campaign. So this campaign runs from the 25th of November, which is International No Violence Against Women Day, to the 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day. So obviously they do this to try and like encourage and bring awareness, encourage people to stop gender-based violence and bring awareness to gender-based violence and women and child abuse throughout the entire world. So in South Africa specifically, obviously we all know that gender-based violence is a massive problem. As per President Cyril Ramaphosa, it is the second pandemic that our country is facing. And so just for some quick statistics, about 25% to 40% of women in South Africa have been physically or sexually abused by their intimate partner at some point in their life. And about almost 50% of South African women have been emotionally abused or financially, economically abused by also their intimate partner. I mean, these are shocking statistics. That literally means almost half of the women in our country have faced some kind of abuse at some point in their lives. And these are just the cases that have been reported, because remember, many women do not even report their abuse, either out of fear of their abuser or because they're just too ashamed to admit that they are a victim of abuse. With all of that being said, this leads us to today's video. So, quick disclaimer, as usual, all the information in this video is available publicly on the internet. I just compiled everything into one video for your information. And trigger warning, I'm obviously going to be talking about domestic violence, women abuse, and murder today. As you know, it's a true crime video. These are the themes that you should expect in this video. Karabo Mokoena. Her name was trending as a hashtag on social media, followed by the hashtag Men Are Trash. Her death sparked an outcry nationwide against gender-based violence and the massive problem that it is in our country. There were protests and riots, and people were very angry, understandably very angry about her death. So I did briefly mention Karabo once in a previous video that I did. I did a whole video about gender-based violence and what a problem it is in South Africa in general. So if you want to check that video out, I will link it somewhere above here towards the end of the video, and you can just hit the link and check that one out too. Today, obviously, I'm going to do a deeper dive into her case specifically. I'm just hoping if we keep discussing these cases and keep saying these women's names, that their deaths will not have been in vain. Change needs to happen. The men in our country need to stop the violence against our women, and therefore we need to keep talking about it and keep making sure that this topic remains relevant. Karabo was born on the 27th of March 1995 to her parents Lolo and Thabang Mokoena. She has two siblings, an older sister Bontle and a younger brother Lebogang, and her dad's brother Tepo, this is her uncle obviously, is like a second dad to her. So their whole family, it seems like from what I've read and seen, they are very close-knit. So according to some sources, Karabo was a part-time business student, and other sources also say she was an aspiring model. But everyone who knew her says she was a beautiful person inside and out. So in the beginning of 2017, Karabo actually started planning this foundation that she wanted to create for women who have been abused, and unfortunately she would not be able to fulfill this dream. And sadly, the irony is that the reason why she couldn't fulfill this dream is because of women abuse and domestic violence. So enter the picture Mr. Wannabe Swag himself, Sandile Manstoe. Sandile was born in 1992 to his mother, Florence Kumalo. There isn't much about his childhood available online, but I did research what I could. He grew up in Mpumalanga, in Secunda, where he matriculated from Highveld Park High School in 2007. So Sandile was the owner of his own business called $1 Trillion Legacy. It was apparently a forex investment company, and he would basically get investments from people and tell them that they would be getting out however much money on top of their investment, like it would be doubled or tripled or whatever. He lived an incredibly lavish lifestyle. He had bunches of cars that he would post all over social media: BMWs, Audis, Mercs, whatever you name it. He also lived in the Stanton Sky apartment, and just for interest sakes, I went to look it up, and for a 2-bedroom flat, it is about 5 million rand. So if that just tells you something about his lifestyle, I'm just saying. So he has been married before. He has 2 children with his wife, but they were separated at the time of this case, and then he has a 3rd child with another lady. Sandile and Karabo met while they were both on a night out at a Sandton upmarket nightclub, and they just basically started spending more time together after that. Their on-again, off-again relationship lasted almost 8 months, and it was just full of drama. It has been reported that Sandile was incredibly physically abusive towards Karabo, and actually just days before her murder, they had both taken out assault charges against each other at the police stations. Karabo's own mom, Lolo Mokoena, actually warned her daughter once during this relationship that she needs to leave Sandile before he kills her. On the 29th of April 2017, a burnt body of a woman was found in a patch of veld on First Street in Bramley, Johannesburg. A passerby was walking there at 7 o'clock in the morning when he saw this, what he thought was a burnt mannequin, and then obviously he realized this looks like a person. He went to his friend who lived close by there, and they went back to go and make sure, and it was definitely a body. And so they phoned the police. Obviously an investigation had been opened, but the body couldn't be identified for a while because of the terrible condition it had been discovered in. So let's rewind back 48 hours to the 27th of April 2017. So this was a Thursday. It was a public holiday. Obviously the 27th of April is Freedom Day in South Africa, and the 1st of May is Workers' Day. So the 1st of May was going to be the Monday, Freedom Day was the Thursday. So basically it was a long weekend. Everyone was getting ready to, like have fun or go away for the weekend, things like that. And on that night, Karabo met up with Sandile at a nightclub in Sandton. As far as all her friends and family were aware, at this stage, her and Sandile were no longer together. They had been broken up. So, but obviously what you do need to understand is that it's very difficult when you are in an abusive relationship. It's complicated. Unless you've been in the situation yourself, you don't really understand why the victim struggles to leave her abuser. It's always difficult for outsiders to understand the dynamic within the relationship. So we're definitely not doing any victim blaming on this channel, please. Anyway, so she was out with Sandile at a nightclub, and apparently what happened was he was flirting with, or getting a bit too friendly with another woman there, and obviously this upset Karabo. They started arguing. The fight turned a little bit physical, and they ended up leaving the nightclub. So they went back to Sandile's apartment, and we can literally piece together many of the events that happened from that early hours of that morning to the next morning, so the 28th and the 29th of April 2017. The reason for this is because there was CCTV footage in Sandile's apartment complex that shows all of the movement that was happening and things that were taking place at that time. About 2:48 a.m. Karabo and Sandile are seen arriving at the apartment, and Karabo is wearing a pink, it looks like a jacket, She doesn't look very happy in the video. You can see she's not like excited. Obviously, if they'd just been arguing, they were planning on, you know, continuing their argument once they got into the apartment to sort it out, whatever the issue was at that time. So this unfortunately is the last time that Karabo was ever seen alive. She is seen on cameras entering the apartment, but is never seen leaving again. So on the same day, on the 28th of April, just hours later at 9:57 that night, you can see Sandile on the camera going out of his apartment into a room. I gather it's like a waste disposal, the waste room or whatever in the apartment. He takes a bin out, one of those wheelie bins, and he goes back to his apartment with it. And then about 10 minutes later, just after 10 o'clock at night, he comes back with the wheelie bin, and this time it's like clearly very heavy, struggling to pull the bin. He gets into the lift, goes to the lobby or whatever of the apartment building, and then goes outside with this bin to the undercover parking area. And then about 20 minutes after that, he comes back in with a clearly much lighter bin, goes back, puts the bin into that room again, goes to his apartment quickly for like a minute to, I don't know, lock up or get something, and then is seen leaving the apartment complex again. And just before 10:30 at night, he is seen in his car on the cameras at the parking exit where he is driving out. In the early hours of the next morning, the 29th of April, he is seen returning to the apartment complex again, wearing blue gloves, and at some point he takes a green plastic bag and dumps it in that room where all the garbage bins and things are. So I gather in the waste room kind of thing. So on the 28th of April, Karabo's friends and family already started looking for her because obviously she wasn't answering her phone at all, she wasn't responding to any text messages. Everyone started worrying about where she is, why they can't get hold of her. At some point, her uncle Tepo posted a status on Facebook. He said, and I quote, "Help find my daughter, her name is Karabo Mokoena." Her friend Steffi Leong also posted a tweet saying, "My friend has been missing since about the 28th of April. If you have seen her, please let me know." So Karabo was officially reported missing on the 28th of April, obviously when everyone realized that they were not getting hold of her, and this search lasted for about 12 days. On the 10th of May 2017, Karabo's older sister Bontle and one of Karabo's friends Neo went to Sandile's Sand and Sky apartment. I think they just wanted to make sure, you know, that they didn't think that Karabo would have been with him, because obviously at that time they were broken up because of their tumultuous relationship, and they were sure she wouldn't have been spending time with him, but they just wanted to make absolutely sure, you know, cover all bases. And so they went there to go speak to him, but he wasn't in his apartment. So Karabo's friend Steffi Leong, she arranged with the complex manager Ronnie to show Bontle and the friend the CCTV footage from that night, so from like the 27th, 28th, 29th of April, that kind of thing. So they were going through the footage, and they could actually, then they saw all of these events happening, you know, them getting home and him walking up and down and doing all these things while they were there watching the footage, a security guard from the complex came to Bonke and brought her a passport and an ID which belonged to Karabo, which she had found in a bin close to Sandile's apartment. And then Sandile arrived back at the complex. So Bonke went to his apartment to go and question him, and she saw that the carpets in his flat were wet. So she asked him why his carpets are wet, and he said that his fridge had been leaking. Apparently, he wasn't really answering her questions properly, and like kind of just being vague and wishy-washy kind of thing. So obviously she eventually left, because what else is she going to do? But she felt very uncomfortable. Her and the friend felt like something, there was a weird vibe, something was up. So they went and got Karabo and Bontle's mom Lolo, and then some more of Karabo's friends, and then they all went to the Deep Kloof police station, and they got a search warrant for Sandile's apartment. And the police, Karabo's friends and family all went back to Sandile's apartment. When they got there, then Lolo, Bontle and Karabo's mom confronted Sandile directly. She literally said to him, "Sandile, did you kill Karabo?" And he said to her, apparently, "No, Mama, I didn't kill her." So the police obviously then started searching the apartment, and they found blood under his coffee table and on a pair of tackies. And then obviously, because the carpet had been freshly washed, it all seemed very suspicious to the police, and they immediately arrested Sandile and took him to the Santon police station. He was interrogated there for several hours. Eventually he confessed to part of it. He said that he hadn't murdered Karabo. He had left on the Friday and gone to work, and when he got home he found her lifeless body in his apartment and assumed she must have committed suicide. Otherwise he doesn't know who killed her. But he started panicking because of their tumultuous history. He realized that all her friends and family are going to blame him for her murder, understandably. I wonder why. Anyway, so he panicked, and he was like, he needs to get this body and her death as far away from himself and his apartment as possible. So he says he put her body into a wheelie bin, took it out to his gold BMW, put her into his boot, and then drove to his family's home in Lyndhurst, where he picked up an empty container, a tire, and some pool acid. He then stopped at a garage. He filled that empty container with petrol, and then he was like looking for sort of a patch of felt, which he found in Bramley, and then like dug a shallow grave, put her body in it, put the tire around her neck, doused her body in petrol, threw the pool acid over her, and then set her body alight. So he says the reason why he burnt her was because he needed time before she would be able to be recognized or identified or whatever. So he was trying to make it harder for her to be identified. That's why he burnt her body. So obviously word got out that Sandile had been arrested, and after his partial confession, Karabo's uncle Tsepo posted another status on Facebook, and this one said, "The boyfriend confession," I assume he meant confessed, "he killed and burned my daughter."
You don't kill somebody you love. If you have differences with somebody that you love, you either discuss it with the parents or either just walk away. So I wouldn't really say that he loved the girl. I mean, or this.
Obviously it's not actually Tepo's daughter, but as I said earlier, her uncle Tepo was like a second dad to her, so this was basically like his daughter. So several celebrities posted on social media about Karabo's death, and the condolences for her family and all of that, and obviously a lot was revolved around gender-based violence and women abuse. One of her friends, Niola, who is a Nigerian singer, she had actually posted when they had been searching for Karabo before they identified her body. She had posted on social media asking if anyone knew where Karabo was, or knew anything about her whereabouts, to please contact her, that kind of thing. And then after Karabo was identified as having been murdered, she posted on social media. She shared some of their conversations where Karabo had been talking about her relationship with Sandile, and in one of the messages Karabo says to Niola, "I'm okay. I don't know. I just hope one day I see relationships differently. That's my only problem." So Niola posted this on social media because of, obviously gender-based violence, and trying to advocate for other abuse victims to get out of the situation before they are killed. So in Niola's post on social media, she said, and I quote, "If he pushes you, hits you, ever yells at you, my dear, take your heels before you get yourself killed." Obviously, at the time, Karabo could never have imagined that Sandile would murder her, no matter how bad, their relationship was, or how toxic it was, or how much he had hurt her. No one ever believes that the person that you know is going to, literally murder you. So, but unfortunately, that is what happened in this case, and she became another GBV statistic in this country. After Sandile's arrest, his mom, Florence Kumalo, and their family wrote a letter to Karabo's family, to the Mokoenas, so kind of sending their condolences and, saying that they understand that the country and the family and everyone is angry and hurt about what happened. But the Mokoenas didn't really happily accept this letter because it didn't say anything about Sandile and how his actions were what led to this. His actions were abusive and how he had treated Karabo, and because of him she was now dead. And even if he didn't confess to murdering her, he still dumped her body in a felt and set her alight. So the family didn't really accept that letter from the Karabo Manstoes. Understandably, they were very hurt. 1 week after Sandile's arrest, on the 17th of May 2017, was Karabo's memorial service. So this was quite a massive service. It was very emotional. A lot of people attended it, and this was held at the Deep Kloof Hall in Soweto. And then on the Friday, the 19th of May, her funeral service was held also at the same venue, and her sister Bontle gave such an emotional eulogy for Karabo at this service.
Thank you to all the people that have really stood by us, came, visited us, and all of that. My little sister was so bold, I couldn't even measure to it. She used to tell me, Buntle, you need to stand up, you need to be tall, you need to be grateful for life. I'll never forget you, Karabo Mokoena. You have left a huge hole in my heart. However, I thank my mother and father for bringing you in this world, because
many of their friends and families were standing with placards that were talking about how gender-based violence and women abuse is unacceptable and needs to be stopped in this country. And obviously this is how Karabo's death became the poster for stopping gender-based violence in our country and doing something about it, kind of thing. It really sparked an outcry nationwide. Sandile's bail application hearing was held at the Johannesburg Central Magistrates Court, and Judge Karel Mokoena actually denied his bail. Then his case was transferred to the South Gauteng High Court on the 31st of August, and his trial officially began on the 16th of April 2018. On the second day of his trial, Karabo's older sister Bontle was the state's second witness to testify, obviously, for the prosecution. So she retold some horrific stories about abuse that Karabo had endured because of Sandile. So one of the stories that she relayed in court was that on one occasion Karabo had found Sandile in a hotel room with another woman, and obviously she confronted him and arguments started happening, and then Sandile headbutted Karabo in the face. I mean, this is horrific. And then even worse than that is on Karabo's 22nd birthday, which was her last birthday alive. It was the 27th of March 2017, so basically a month before she was murdered. Her whole family were trying to phone her the whole day, trying to get hold of her, obviously wish her for her birthday, that kind of thing. Nobody could get hold of her for her birthday. So eventually the day after, on the 28th of March, her sister got a call from Karabo. She was in hospital. She was at the Morningside Hospital with a severely bruised eye, a bruised leg and a shoulder, and she told Bontle that the reason why none of her family could get hold of her, or why she couldn't get hold of the family, had been because Sandile had actually smashed Karabo's phone when he attacked her. So Bontle came and fetched her sister from the hospital and then went to Sandile's Santa Sky apartment to go fetch the last of Bontle's things, and then dropped her off at her friend Michelle's house, but obviously didn't want to go home so that her parents would see all her injuries from Sandile. Once she had recovered though, she went home and she stayed at her family home, sharing a room with her sister Bontle right up until her death in April 27th. So after Bontle had testified about this, another friend of Karabo, Puleng Tetwa, also testified about abuse that she was aware of. So one of the incidents she told was where Sandile wanted to go through Karabo's phone, and obviously to unlock her phone she had like a fingerprint identification thing. Yeah, so she didn't want to unlock her phone for him, and he basically told her he was going to count to a certain number, and once he got to that number, if she hadn't unlocked her phone for him, then he was going to smash her phone. So he counted to that number, grabbed the phone out of her hand and smashed it. The next day Karabo went to Sandile's apartment, and she was basically went there to be like, dude, you need to like pay for the repairs on my phone, like you broke my phone, you need to fix it. Obviously an argument broke out and he grabbed Karabo and pushed her up against the wall and then started strangling her. So this is basically, you know, how their relationship went. Another story that Puleng told was once some of them were at Sandile's apartment and Karabo was in his bedroom busy changing, and I guess she was still naked when he stormed into his room, and he basically threw Karabo across the room like towards a glass table, and then told her that she needed to leave and get out of his apartment and go home. So these just shows what a a temper this man has, and how horrifically he was treating Karabo. Like it wasn't just emotional or mental, he was like physically putting his hands on her, even in front of other people. Like her friends, her family, people were aware of the kind of treatment that she was receiving from this man, unfortunately. A few days before Karabo's murder, Sandile had actually gone and opened a case of assault at the police station against Karabo, claiming that she was the one who was abusive, and then in turn she went and opened a counter claim of assault against him. And basically the police told them that they can't keep going back and forth opening assault cases against each other, they need to work out their problems as a couple. That was basically what they were told. So during Sandile's trial, one of the police officers said that Sandile had apparently confessed to them that he and Karabo had made this like blood pact ritual thing or whatever for his business to be successful, and now that she had left him, his business was like declining and going badly, so he needed to get out of this blood pact, and that's why he murdered her. So not many people believe this, but apparently the lead investigator says that 60% of Karabo's internal organs were missing, including her heart, and this is typically what happens during a ritual killing. So I don't know, some people believe that is what happens, some people don't, but Sandile vehemently denies ever saying this. He says he didn't confess that is not what happened, he didn't murder Karabo, she either killed herself or someone else murdered her. He doesn't know how she died, he just dumped her body. So the prosecution team, Mike Ratrayo and Pakaniswa Marasela, were arguing that what they think happened is Sandile and Karabo obviously had been arguing after the whole incident at the nightclub, and things just severely escalated, and he ended up stabbing her to death, and then obviously to cover what he had done, he then took her body away and burnt it so that he could try and hide the cause of death. So he was being tried for premeditated murder and also assault because of the attack that happened on her birthday the month before her death on the 27th of March. He was also being charged for that assault, and then also for trying to obstruct the ends of justice by hiding her body and lying about seeing her and all of those kind of things. So on the 2nd of May 2018, acting judge Pete Johnson's sentenced Sandile to 32 years in prison. He was found guilty on all of the charges that he had been charged with, and Judge Johnson actually describes Sandile as the devil in disguise. So he's currently serving out his 32-year sentence at the Johannesburg Correctional Centre, which is apparently also known as Sun City. I don't know, that's what it said in some of the sources. He is in the maximum security section, obviously, because he was charged with murder and assault, which are Section 6 criminal offences in our country. So after all of this happened, a bunch of things came out about Sandile's company. So this very rich, wealthy, clever businessman who was a forex trader was actually just a scam artist running a Ponzi scheme. So basically, he would tell people to invest their money into his company, and then he would be investing it obviously on like the stock exchange and things like that, and then they would get back, you know, a certain amount of money. Of like, you know, I don't really know how stock works, to be very honest. I'm not like a business accountant person here, but anyway, they were supposed to receive more money back than what they put in. So for example, one of the people that had invested in his company was his mom, Florence's best friend. This lady said she had taken out a loan of 125,000 rand to be able to pay her investment and received no returns on it, and obviously to this day she's still struggling to pay this loan off now. In total, there was 124 people who opened cases of fraud against Sandile for his investment company. Many of these people had invested their entire life savings or their retirement money, everything, into his company and received nothing back, and now literally have nothing to live on. So the police have confirmed that they are investigating all of these cases of fraud against him and his company. So hopefully something comes out of this. I'm pretty sure they're not going to get their money back. I don't know, maybe they can sell his apartment and all his cars, or they have done so in the meantime. I didn't read anything in the reports. I think as of at the moment that investigation is still ongoing, but hopefully they can give some of the money back to some of these people, because that is absolutely horrific. Like, this man was such a terrible man. He was just lying to people close to him, stealing his mom's best friend's money, abusing his girlfriend, cheating on her, eventually murdering her, and then lying about it. I mean, like, what a scumbag. Honestly, it's actually horrific. Like, he just thought he was like the absolute best thing in the world, and he was just like literal trash, literally trash. So there is one like silver lining, I guess, that I want to end this video off on, if you can call it that. I mean, there's not really ever a silver lining when someone is murdered, especially so brutally. But Bontle, Karabo's older sister, and two of Karabo's best friends, Michelle and Steph, they created the Karabo Mokoena Foundation, which is a company, an organization that helps women who are abused and, you know, victims of domestic violence. So this foundation has worked with several other organizations like Nazareth House and the House Orphanage and things like that, you know, partnering with them for campaigns and things against women and child abuse, which I think is amazing. And while doing all of this and creating this organization, Bontle, Michelle and Steph have created their own relationship, you know, where they've been there for each other, gone to counseling sessions together, and, you know, tried to grieve, you know, and get through the loss of Karabo and, you know, the relationship that each of them had with their sister or friend kind of thing. So I think that's also really special, and it's amazing that in her memory and in her honor they created this foundation, which is exactly what she had been planning on doing at the time of her death, because of her own experience with domestic violence. So I just think that is awesome of them. I just want to quickly add here that if you or anyone you know is being abused, is a victim of domestic violence or anything like that, child abuse, that there are resources that you can turn to for help. You know, like, I understand it's difficult. Like, I can just sit here and tell you, get out of the abusive relationship, call for help, whatever, that kind of thing. But obviously it's, you know, it's like, it's more complicated than that. But there are people out there that are able to help you get out of the situation. So I'm going to put some of the things here on the screen. You can contact Power, who is the People Opposing Women Abuse, at 011-591-6803, or email them at info@power.co.za, or you can contact Rise Against Domestic Violence South Africa at 081-589-4308. Please, please, please look after yourselves and your fellow sisters, you know, and the men in this country. Like, you know, take action against your fellow abusive brothers. Hold them accountable. You know, like, we need to stop this horrific epidemic that is in our country of the men who are so violent and aggressive towards our women. But anyway, that is it for this video. So until next time, bye.
Hi guys, I'm Karabo Mokoena, and I just want to share a few of my thoughts on beauty. So, for example, most of us desire to be wise. Most. And he's not exactly marrying my hair or my light skin or my dark skin or my curves. My curves are not going to cook for him, and my hair is definitely not going to assume the roles and the responsibilities of a wife in that home. He still needs to deal with the flaws in my character, unpleasant attitudes and behaviors, or whatever that he may find. So let's work on being. Let's work on becoming successful individuals and finding wholeness and fulfillment in our individuality. The long and short of it, of what I'm trying to say is, while our beauty can open great doors for us, it cannot sustain them. Only the quality of our character can do that for us.